Alright guys, we're back. Thought it's been a while, Supercoach has been down for a bit. Thought let's make a little bit of a video previewing the next season, even though we're like, what, 5-6 months out, we're only in November. So for today we'll just be going over a couple of pod players. If you don't know what a pod is, maybe you're new, a player of difference or a point of difference. Essentially just a player that you have that not many other people have. Pretty simple. For these, I didn't go through the entire list of, the 200 players in the AFL. These are ones that made a move in the trade period, or maybe there's just something new that's happened to the team they're on. If you know what I mean. Players that are in a different circumstance than they were last year, and they might be someone that you might want to keep an eye out for this year. Maybe not all starters, maybe you don't want to start them in your team, but yeah, maybe they'll give you something that not many other people are thinking about. So for the first one, we've got Dawson. This one's a bit more of an obvious one. A lot of people are thinking about Dawson, given that he's switched this year from Sydney to Adelaide, the Adelaide Crows, the Crom. Last year he finished the year with a 101.1 average, which already that's not too bad. Really, last year for defenders over 100 average, that was good enough, right? Some years you want upwards of 105 average, maybe closer to like 107 for like a proper premium reliable score, but 101 was fine for last year. His highest he scored last year was a 158 in round 23. That's to know that someone can score that high is pretty good. As I was checking through his stats, he did have a couple of big scores. Obviously the one big thing, and why a lot of people are thinking about Dawson here, is that was playing for Sydney with one of probably the best Supercoach defenders, or the most reliable Supercoach defenders ever, and Jake Lloyd. So Dawson being at Adelaide should open up a lot of kick-ins for him. He does like to take them. Just a lot more movement in the back line. Last year he averaged 22.3 disposals, let's just call it 22, at a 78.8 efficiency, let's call that 79. That's good for Supercoach. Obviously you'd like a bit higher into the 80s, but that's not too bad. The splits were like 15 kicks and 6-7 handballs a game. The kicks aren't too bad. Depending on efficiency, you do prefer kicks over handballs. Just the Supercoach algorithm, something in it likes kicks better. 5.5 marks a game he averaged, and 3 tackles. That's good enough for me when I look at a defender, and I only see these numbers really going up. I don't think someone like Jordan Butts is going to be taking all the kicks and touches away from him. There's a reason Adelaide went out to get this guy, so it's kind of just a waiting game to see if it pays off. The 3 tackles as well, that's not terrible. Obviously I'd like it a little bit higher, but it's better than 0, which I had to look through the defender tackling, and I was actually surprised at how little the averages were. 85% time on ground, that's probably going to stay about the same. I don't think that the reason he was off was for anyone else at Sydney to go on. I think it was just more so he's tired. He hasn't got the tank to play like a Ridley who had like 100% time on ground for the first 6 rounds, something like that. It was something absolutely insane. But yeah, I think Dawson is not too bad. Maybe someone to write down. Right now I have his price predicted. Maybe this is just a prediction. No one knows what the prices are. It is only November. Prices come out usually late January, mid-February, sometime around there. Kind of just before the preseason starts is when prices come out. Right now I've got him at 545,000, which is a lot. Usually a pod player, you'd like them to be under like 450, somewhere under there, so it's low risk. But yeah, this is a bit high. So maybe this is someone that if you want to pick him, you do have to put him in your starting team. I don't know how much the price is going to fluctuate throughout the season. But yeah, I think he's an alright pick. Relatively low risk. Compared to other players, I think he's kind of low risk, because I don't see anything changing in his game that would dramatically lower his scoring, right? But yeah, going on to the next player, we have Jordan Clark, another Jordan. Jordan Clark this year moved from Geelong to Freo. There was a bit of controversy around that. Geelong obviously want like 100 picks per player that doesn't play. But yeah, I don't think Jordan Clark... I think a lot of people are overselling him. I don't think he has the ceiling a lot of people do. But for what I using my calculations and stuff, I've got his price at 335k. I think that there is something there that maybe he goes up to 400 and something k, 420, 430, something like that, which in the grand scheme of things maybe isn't enough for you to say, alright, I'm going to give this a shot. Maybe you're looking for your final player. I'm guessing he's got to be a defender. Actually, I'm not too sure. Maybe a mid-forward, or defender forward, something like that. Because I know he was playing a lot of wing. He only played 8 games last year. That's one thing we should get out of the way. He had played 8 games, and through that he averaged 62.1. That's not amazing. It's not something you want to see. Usually you'd see that and go, alright, yeah, this is a dud player. I'm not really going to bother with him. But yeah, I think there's some here. Go over his stats. 14 disposals, an 80.5% efficiency, 5.5 kicks a game, 4.5 handballs a game. And here's the very alarming stat, which I think at Freo it should go up, but at Freo there's also the Andy Brayshaw situation where everyone says that he's got the tank to run out every game of the season. He could go 90% plus time on ground the whole year. But then you look at the stats and he's struggling to play 60% of a game, or like 70%. For Jordan Clark, his time on ground for last year, through again only 8 games on a stacked Geelong team, was 52%. That is an alarming stat, and if that keeps up, then yeah, definitely do not pick this guy. This is a very watch the preseason, see how it goes type of pick. But yeah, I could see an upside here. Perhaps he goes into a good mid-forward role. I don't even know if that exists in Supercoach. To me, this sounds a lot like a Chad Wingard type of player. I'm guessing in more... Alright, maybe not Chad Wingard. I'm trying to think of who the other guy was last year. Tom Phillips, was it? Something like that. A Hawthorn player, a wing, who everyone's like, oh yeah, he put up 2 good scores in pre-season. Should be good to hold out the year, make a bit of money, and he just didn't. He was never really that good. There's obviously the possibility of that. This is why I'd probably say don't go for this pick, but there is an upside there, right? He could seamlessly fit in. His time on ground goes up because he has shown that he's got a bit of skill with the ball. I mean, 62 point average in 51% time on ground. It's not too bad. Yeah, it's kind of just a wait and see how it goes in the preseason. Player number 3 of 5. I should have said this is like a top 5 or something like that. I didn't want to go through the entire list, right? And when you just look at players that switch, there's a lot of nothing going on. Now with player number 3, we have Luke Dunstan, who's just recently moved from St Kilda to Melbourne. Pretty big move that sort of went under the radar. I don't know, maybe I just didn't see the reports on it. yeah, he comes off last year where he actually had not a bad year. A lot of people would probably write this off as soon as you hear Luke Dunstan because he's not some star player. But yeah, he went in he ended last year with a 92.2 average. He played 12 games, which that's, not amazing. You'd prefer upwards of 20. He right now under prediction is 497k, which, I'm going to clickbait that and say he's under 500k. For stats, he had a 25.3 disposal average, which that's pretty cool. That's obviously going to drop. He's in the Melbourne midfield. That's obviously the big shining, do I really want this guy who's going to play in? I think after the premiership, after they won it, you do have to call him the best midfield in the whole competition, the whole league, I guess. Personally, I'd say it's the Dogs. I think that they do just sort of edge him out with Bont, McRae, Bailey, Smith, and all that stuff. But I think Melbourne's is still obviously great. They're number 2. So do you really want a player that's going to fight for time in that midfield? Because I don't think he has like a surefire, just I'm starting every game type of thing. But back to his stats. 14.1 kicks a game, 11.2 handballs a game. So that's an alright split. You take that. 66% efficiency though, that is not great. You would really like that to be a bit higher. The other thing with him is he's at 4.9, let's call it 5 tackles a game. That's a pretty big number for a midfielder. And for the Melbourne midfield, which if you listen to the commentary all grand final, apparently they can't play defense. Dunstan would fit in perfectly if that's what they're looking for. 5 tackles a game. If he can get some consistent time on ground. Last year was at 82%. And that was on a not amazing St Kilda side. So yeah, maybe there's going to be issues there. But yeah, if he slides in, he's the sort of defensive midfielder for this Melbourne team, which, maybe they can go back to back. It's not impossible. I don't think this is too bad a pick. I don't know if I'd start it though. That's the thing. At almost 500k, I think you're better off picking the next person who I'm going to bring up. 66% efficiency again, and that's just, when I see something like that, it means you're going to get a lot of games where he has the 20, almost 30 touches a game, and he's maybe just scored 98. It's like, because his efficiency's terrible. And personally, that's like one of the most triggering things, so I stay away from this pick. But that's just me. Maybe you're a Luke Dunstan diehard fan. Maybe that's your thing. But yeah, on to the next player. Player number 4. Now this is the one where I'm actually thinking about starting him. Him and Dawson are really the main ones I'm thinking about from this list. Is Adam Cheera. He went to Carlton this year. He left Freo. Last year had probably you'd call it a breakout year. Kind of showed that he is a competent starting midfielder on a mid to good team, right? Maybe not a premiership contender, but a top 8 team. Last year he averaged 90.1, we'll just call that 90 average. His highest score was a 147 in round 20 versus Richmond. I had to make sure I said the first Richmond part because Richmond give up a lot of midfield points a game. So I really should have got his second highest score, but for the sake of saying he almost got a 150 and he's right under my prediction, 486k, that's not too bad. 23 touches a game, again under 70% efficiency, he's 68.9, not great. That was obvious. I had him last year. A big issue was his durability. He didn't play every game last year. I haven't got it marked down how many games he did play, but he did miss a couple of games last year. The splits were 13.9, let's just call it 14 kicks a game, and 9.2 handballs a game. that's an alright split. You take that again. Maybe with his efficiency being so low, you'd prefer the handballs because it's just harder to screw that up if you're an actual NBA, an actual AFL player. But I don't see this pick as really too bad. Carlton's midfield is obviously just needing someone. You saw like Paddy Dow even had a good game last year, and I don't think that's so much because Paddy Dow versus it's just because it's Walsh, and that's it. That's their entire midfield. Patrick Cripps has declined to the point of I don't even know if he's legitimately in their 22, and it's in a way it's kind of sad that that's not too much of a joke, really. I think towards the end of the year, someone like Matthew Kennedy was way better than Patrick Cripps. I don't even think it was close. Maybe after last year, Patrick Cripps comes in with like I don't even know what you'd call it, like a revenge season, where he just wants to be better. He did look like he put on a bit of weight, so maybe he slims down and it gets a bit better. But there's not really any way of knowing that. So I'd say Adam Cheera kind of seamlessly slides in there, gets his touches, him and Walsh. Sort of dynamic duo. Dynamic. It's a lot of dynamics. But yeah, I think honestly Cheera's going from the same situation in Freo to Carlton. He just wants to be in Melbourne, that's all. He in Freo had Andy Brayshaw to kind of split touches with, and Brayshaw was obviously the better of the two. I think Brayshaw is going to go up as one of the better midfielders in the competition. Maybe next year he'll show that. But yeah, I 486k, a lot of upside here. Maybe this is a pick that a lot more people should be looking at, or if they are, maybe less people need to be looking at, so it stays a pod pick. And the final player here is maybe someone a lot of people look at depending on structure, because I think there's going to be a lot of expensive players next year. So I don't know if the Gawn Grundy set and forget strategy is going to apply. The final pick here is a ruckman, Peter Laddams. Went to Sydney, he left Port. He was just struggling for playing time at Port. I don't think he was good enough to make the 22 weekly, so he didn't play every game. But at Sydney, I think he does. I think he's probably their number one ruck. I do remember they had a guy last year, I just can't remember his name, who had a couple of good games. I think he had a stretch of like 3 games where he was almost tunning in Supercoach every week. Laddams comes in, he averaged 76 in a Port Adelaide side, which, Port weren't actually too great for Supercoach scoring if you had them, besides Wines some weeks and Boak some weeks. But yeah, 76 average. I haven't predicted at 412k. That's a fair bit, probably if you're looking for the one ruck, like say one of Gawn and Grundy and one other ruck. Maybe you're looking at a bit cheaper, you want someone closer to 300k. I haven't got him on here, but maybe Marbia Chol, if he has ruck, I think he would. That's just me taking a guess. I guess he would. But I'm not too sure if they've released all the positions on there. I think they've only done positional changes. So if no one changed, I don't think their position's out yet. Laddams comes in 13.6 disposals a game with the 7.6 kicks a game. Sorry, I just had to scroll down. 3.4 marks. You do want that a bit higher for a ruckman. Gawn gets a lot of his touches through intercept marks. You're not going to get that with Laddams too much. Maybe he does slide back into defense. No Dawson there. Just one more big body down there. That's possible. Obviously, there's no footage of him playing. He almost averaged a goal a game last year, 0.8. It's close enough, I guess. He didn't play too many games, so maybe that's a bit inflated. 13.4 hitouts. Now, that's not great. You do want higher than that. You kind of want... when you get Gawn and Grundy on a bad game having 30 plus hitouts, a lot of them to advantage if you're not Grundy playing with a bad midfield. Ladhams comes in 13.4 hitouts and only 3.9, let's call it 4 hitouts to advantage. That's not great. I mean, there's a reason why he's only 412k, right? So you can't expect Gorn, on steroids at 400k. It's not going to happen. 80% time on ground though, that's going to go up. Even if the Sydney second ruck is kind of competing, I don't think that's going to drop, the 80% time on ground. So maybe that's a pick. That's the 5 I could think of. Again, maybe the only 2, well, maybe there's 3 legitimate contenders here are Dawson, Cheera and Ladhams. They're really just cheap picks. But that was the point of this, just to show that there are some cheaper picks out there. These, again, just trades that happened. These are guys, new teams. I'll probably do another video this week or next week about just a team formulation, like a too early to call team. Just a quick draft. We'll see how it goes. Again, it's easier once prices come out, right? And you can tell, alright, Dawson is exactly 545.6k. It's a lot easier to tell. But yeah, this is all we've got for now. We'll see how it goes. Let me know in the comments if you are thinking about any of these players. Maybe you're thinking about them before. But yeah, I'll see you all next time. Peace.